The Odyssey, one of the oldest, most influential stories of all time, detailing the trials and tribulations of a man named Odysseus, trying to sail back home to his wife and son while encountering multiple monsters and gods along the way. And I ain't talking about no level 1 goblins and the party god over here. He's going up against the heavy hitters like Cyclops and Poseidon. And seeing that there was a new Odyssey movie coming out by Christopher Nolan, aka the Oppenheimer guy, as well as listening to the musical titled Epic, I'm in a pretty Odyssey mood right now. So I got to thinking, Odysseus went through a lot of struggle in his journey and had to come up with a lot of out-of-the-box strategies in order to survive. So could anyone else in his shoes manage to succeed in his task? And that's where Smash Bros comes in, with its gigantic roster ranging from tried-and-true heroes to downright villains. How far would each of them make it in the story? And who would be left standing by the end of it? That's what we're here to find out. As far as how we're gonna do this, we'll be looking at each major challenge presented in the story in chronological order and seeing who could complete it and move on to the next, while also highlighting some alternative methods to success that some characters can pull off. I'm also going to assume that each member has a crew of helpers like Odysseus did, whether that be just Bowser's fleet, the Fire Emblem armies, or the Kremlin crew. Pick your poison. Without them, the story would make just a little less sense. And lastly, I'm just going to assume everyone here knows at the very least how to sail, because if they didn't, then we would have a very small list to start with. But now, let's begin the tale. After waging war in Troy for several years, our intrepid hero sets out for his home, Ithaca. After sailing for a while, he eventually lands on an island full of lotuses that when eaten makes you want to never leave. Luckily, Odysseus managed to recognize what the fruit is and dragged everyone who ate one back on the ship and continued sailing. This one is pretty simple in comparison to a lot of the others. The real key here is recognizing the lotus is a bad thing. Plus, as long as you have someone who doesn't eat the lotus with you, they could always just drag you back on the ship. If I wasn't including the whole army thing, then some people here who would immediately fail are Wario, K. Rool, DD, and Bowser plus Bowser Jr. I highly doubt they would have enough self-control to not eat it. I think everyone else would be able to recognize the effects it has on the natives and put two and two together. And all the Pokemon and other animal characters can probably tell that this don't look like any old Oranberry. Plus, people like Rob don't even need to eat. This is the only time the crew is going to be bailing our hero out. Trust me, our heroes will regret having a crew at all. In search for actual food, our heroes discover a flock of sheep in a cave. However, inside of the cave lies an angry Cyclops who seals the exit shut with a giant boulder and sets his singular eye on its dinner. So now we have our first physical struggle. The Cyclops is often depicted as a creature several times larger and stronger than man, so unless you have the power to match, a solid strategy is imperative. Someone like Villager or Isabel can actually blind him, but that's not going to really help all that much when it comes to getting past a giant boulder. Right away, we can check off anyone who has gone up against giants or at the very least can destroy a boulder, because they can pass pretty easily. Otherwise, anyone who is used to deceiving people or strategizing could probably come up with a solid plan to get out. In the original story, Odysseus introduces himself as nobody with the aid of others stabs the Cyclops' eye, blinding him. Then when the Cyclops asks for help from his friends, they ask who did this to you, in which he responds, "Nobody did this to me." They then laugh at him and he opens up the exit to prove it, letting everyone escape. Now, I don't know if anyone else could come up with that exact plan, but I can't imagine it being hard to outwit a Cyclops, as they aren't well known for their book smarts. As long as they can make up a reason as to why he needs to move the boulder, they should theoretically all be good, though they would need to act fast before they got ate. Luckily, Steve has his pickaxe, so he's in no danger whatsoever, and I can imagine that all the Pokemon have some moves that would be useful here, and many characters like the Lynx or Samus have access to multiple explosions or laser beams, which could no doubt carve a tunnel out of there. However, we do have to say goodbye to a few friends, such as the Inklings, who really can only ink things, and that's it. Yoshi, who can't communicate with the Cyclops at all, nor can he do anything about the boulder, and Almar, who is honestly just bound to get crushed at any point during this journey. So overall, we got a few casualties, but we're still looking pretty good. And then there's Rob, who wouldn't even need to go in the cave at all, as he doesn't even need to eat anything. On the next island, they meet someone who gifts them a bag of winds, which is said to have all the storms trapped inside. They are then told that as long as the bag stays shut, our heroes should easily make it home. For this trial, it all comes down to anyone who would be foolish enough to open the bag. In the story, Odysseus' crew thinks the bag contains treasure, and after weeks of sailing, they see the shores of Ithaca. But then as soon as Odysseus goes to sleep, they open the bag, and they all get sent flying back. So it all comes down to who can stay up for 1 to 2 weeks to prevent the bag from being stolen. And unless I'm mistaken, I don't think we've been shown that any of these characters can stay awake for that long. And in Smash Bros. We see that all the roster could be afflicted with the sleep status. So therefore, it is safe to assume that everyone would eventually let their guard down and get some shut-eye. Even Rob has to recharge his batteries at some point. Honestly, this is the whole reason why I gave everyone a crew to begin with, because otherwise the story would end here. Everyone would pass and the journey would be over. But if it makes you feel any better, the next island they go to after getting flung by the vicious winds released from the bag sees 99% of the crew get killed by giant cannibals. So that's nice. After being sent flying away from their destination, our heroes arrive at an island where Circe resides, a witch who seduces travelers and turns them into pigs by making them drink magic wine. They see that some of their crew members have already succumbed to the sorceress's temptations and must restore them back. So as long as these characters aren't easily persuaded by women or alcohol, this should be a cinch. I can tell you right now, Bayonetta knows a fellow witch when she sees one and won't be buying anything Circe's selling. Shulk could just get a vision of what would happen if he drank the Bud Light. A good majority of these guys would either not fall for her seduction, not want wine at all, or are just too smart to fall for her ploy. Plus, it's shown that in the story when Odysseus confronts her, we see that she isn't really all that strong. However, this is all assuming that she's using the wine to trick the travelers. If she decides to mix her magic potion into other foods, then some things might change. For example, if Donkey Kong is presented with a magic banana, or really any banana for that matter, he's done. Ain't nothing saving him. Same goes for Diddy. I could also see Bowser Jr. and the Koopalings folding for some chicken nuggies. And we know what Kirby would do for some strawberry cake. Dang, I'm surprised how much people have survived at this point. Wonder how long they can keep that up. After convincing Circe to aid them in their quest, our heroes take a quick detour to the underworld to ask a dead prophet for advice. Once that is done, everyone continues to sail forward until passing by the melodic sounds of the sirens, creatures that lure in sailors with their sounds and devour them till there's nothing left but bones. Now here's where things get dicey. It is said that once anyone hears a siren's song, they are immediately entranced and have the urge to get closer to them, falling for their trap. And since in this timeline Circe never warned anyone about the sirens, the roster has no time to prepare, meaning anyone who could hear their song is essentially a goner. I tried to see if their song only affected men, but I couldn't find anything about them not working on women. I can make an exception for those who have some sort of helmet or earpiece that can potentially block out sound, like Mega Man or Fox, but otherwise this is where a large chunk of the roster will meet their end. Although I will say that I may make an exception for Jigglypuff, just because I imagine she would hear the song and sing right back, turning the sirens to sleep in the process. Does it make sense? Not really. Is it funny? Kind of. And Shulk could just get a vision as always and prepare ahead of time. Also, something I have not brought attention to up until now. But there are 3 characters here who would 100% know about the dangers the sirens pose. And 2 of them are Pit and Dark Pit. These guys' games take place in ancient Greece, going up against Medusa, Hydras, Hades, etc. It's only natural to assume they would hear about the sirens at some point in their journeys. Now, I know it looks like Thanos just snapped his fingers on the remaining roster, but that just leaves us with the cream of the crop, the true heroes of the story. The path splits farther ahead, but each path is blocked by a monster. The first is Scylla, who resides at the top of a cliff but can reach down all the way to the ocean to pick off passing sailors. The second is Charybdis, who acts as a giant whirlpool, sucking in anything near it and eating everything that reaches its center. So there are multiple ways to pass this trial. For example, someone like Samus would probably have no trouble with Scylla given her track record of beating giant Goliaths like Kraid. Same goes for Dark Samus. Other characters who could dodge or overpower Scylla are Shulk, the Pits, and Mega Man. Meta Knight could simply fly over Kratos to be no less worse for wear. Ice climbers could actually just scale the mountain Scylla lives on and avoid her death trap entirely. However, this is unfortunately where we have to say goodbye to our friend Rob, who just don't got the airtime nor the power needed. Same goes for Jigglypuff, whose singing wouldn't work on either of them as their ears are either submerged in water or high in the mountains. And while she can float in Smash, I don't think it's been shown that she can float in any Pokemon game. This is also the Star Fox Trio's last mission as they have dashed their last wave. Without their ships and tanks, all they got is their little pea shooters and shields, which ain't helping too much here. Same goes for Snake, who I don't think has the firepower necessary to cut through. Although now thinking about it, I suppose he could try sneaking past Scylla's cave. Whether that be hugging the walls or hiding in a box and hoping Scylla doesn't eat him. Now there is one strategy that could be used against Scylla, but only one of these guys has the will to pull it off. In the story, a couple of Odysseus' men get snatched up by Scylla, and Odysseus, realizing that his mouth is probably full at the moment, seizes the opportunity and rushes through the cave. Now King DDD is known for having many Waddle Dees, and in Brawl his side special was just chucking one of them at the opponent without any care whatsoever. All I'm saying is that it takes a true leader to make the tough sacrifices. After getting betrayed by what little crew remains and watching them slay one of the gods' cows, Zeus comes in and smites everyone but our hero as they're sent adrift until washing up on the shore of Calypso's island, where Calypso offers them immortality and eternal youth in exchange for staying with her forever. It is later revealed that even if our hero wanted to leave, the gods have trapped them, making escape impossible. Looking at everyone left standing, not a lot of them would be willing to accept her deal, even if they don't end up leaving until much later. Shulk's got a little boo thing at home, so he's chillin'. Meta Knight would 100% refuse, and the Pits are too loyal to their goddesses to follow anyone else. King Dedede though, I think he'd take a life of luxury while forever maintaining his perfect physique. Seems very in character. After being stuck on Calypso's island for over 7 years, the goddess of wisdom, Athena, takes pity on our hero and convinces Zeus to set them free. With a raft to sail off with, our hero resumes his journey, but just as they're about to make it, Poseidon comes in and vows to do whatever it takes to stop them dead in their tracks. Yeah, it turns out that Cyclops from way back was actually the son of Poseidon, so he's a little bit angry right now. So we got two options. A, survive the storm and don't drown, or B, beat Poseidon. Now, as far as defeating Poseidon goes, there are actually some confirmed god slayers among our survivors, with Shulk felling Zanza and Pit beating Hades, which by proxy means that Dark Pit could do it as well. Although in Pit's case he had a lot of help during that battle from other gods and Medusa, so it's hard to say I can give him the benefit of the doubt. That being said though, Pit is actually acquaintances with Poseidon, so depending on how bad of a mood the big man is, he could potentially be talked down, as unlikely a scenario as it is. As for everyone else, they have no choice but to survive the storm. To determine this, I took each character and looked up if they've ever been shown in an underwater environment and did not have to go back up for air. Mega Man has had plenty of water-based levels, so he's in the clear. Same goes for Meta Knight. Samus also has an entire underwater stage in Metroid Prime, and while I'm not sure if Dark Samus can breathe underwater as well, I see no reason why she couldn't. That just leaves the poor little ice climbers to suffer the wrath of the god of the seas. At least they're going out with each other, and Snake is not stealthing his way out of this one. But that's it. We have our lucky winners who have successfully passed through every trial and made it back home to Ithaca in one piece. They just had to deal with a bunch of suitors running amok in their house, but if they made it this far, I'm sure they could find one way or another to remove them from the premises. Now, there is one character I have not given attention to whatsoever, and that is for good reason, as they alone could bypass the entire journey. That character is, of course, the goddess of light, Palutena. You see, Palutena in her game is a literal goddess whose power and dominion matches that of the heavy hitters like Poseidon, Hades, Hephaestus, and even Pandora. Ooh, mama! She wouldn't even need to participate in the journey at all. She would just be watching from the sidelines as Pit stumbles his way through each trial. There are some other characters who could bypass the journey as a whole, such as Kirby and his Warp Star, Sonic, who could probably run across the entire ocean in 5 seconds, and anyone with a flying vehicle. I didn't count any of these for obvious reasons, but I at least wanted to mention them. But with that, our valiant heroes have successfully returned home and completed their quest, ensuring that their names will go on to inspire countless generations to do the same. Do you agree with the winners selected, or are there other scenarios that went unaccounted for? Let me know down below, and until next time, see ya!